Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbo. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, man, what's happening?
I didn't know if I was going to be here or not. It was kind of crazy to think whether I should be on the football field right now coaching, but welcome to Smokeville, I guess we'll call it. Smokeville, USA, as we're surrounded by this stuff. So, but I am excited.
Yeah.
Because we are finally back in studio.
Yeah, I'm over here trying to figure out why my mic is so quiet today. Usually I barely have to bump it up, and now I'm near the top, but we're making it work.
Yeah, it did. But, you know, it's nice to get back in the studio, start talking a little bit more LCS-y stuff, and
Aaron Judge just hit number 56. Or at least a little bit ago. We've been prepping, but yes, welcome back to the studio, Eric says. We're here. It's exciting. Next week, episode 100. I was partially thinking of not coming back to the studio until 100, but I needed a test episode to make sure things ran correctly. Hopefully they're sounding okay on that end. And next week, and we were no guests today because, again, we wanted to make sure everything was running correctly and try to remember how to hook things up correctly because it's been a few months and we're old and dumb. So far, so good, I believe. But next week will be a lot of fun. We're going to I know Alicia's already said she's in, and we got to talk to a couple other people. We'll try to fill it up with some guests. We'll still talk a bunch of the sports. We got volleyball going on again this weekend. It'll be your first time doing PA. Good luck with some of the names. Fantastic ladies, but some of the transfers were like,
you and I talked about that the other night at bowling, and also, you know, when we had I'm drawing a blank already. On the show last week, like how do you pronounce these names? It's going to be interesting to see. But
I was a professional last week and just said, talk about the new people.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring up any names and let Cassidy do it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and that's the thing is we were talking about Bert, Bert filling in and just called her by her first name, the few. So that's the one thing that worries me a little bit is,
you'll get there.
Boy. But with that being said, I have to give credit to where credit's due. Alicia always has that stuff nice and neat. And it's not like the high school stuff. Huh?
No.
Ask the coach, how do you say it? Well, you get one that tells me one thing and one that tells me another, and it's like, all right, coin flip. Which name you going with?
Make whatever one up you can. And at least for me, the players can't hear it when I butcher their name. They might hear about it later.
Right.
You butcher a name on the PA, and you get a bunch of heads turning at you.
Especially some of those.
I just get Alicia hitting me in the shoulder if I say something wrong. I can't get Carly Burnson correctly the first time to start a match ever. Like I can get it. It's Burnt Son, not Burtson. But the first time I say Carly's last name, every time I say it wrong and I get hit.
Well, it's the same thing with a buddy of ours that we bowl with. His son came up to me and at Battle of the Bridges the other night, and he says, I just want to remind you how to say my name. I'm like, I know how to say it. I mean, it's just the way it's spelled, not grammatically correct. And it says, and it's Lisney. He said, and Dad said something to me there Sunday as we're bowling. He says, just pronounce it with an L, but instead of saying L, think about it as Disney, but just say it with an L. And I'm like, well, I do that, but I think about it as Liz, like lizard, and just kind of stop, and then knee.
No stopping.
No stop. Well, and then it's the same way many years ago. I remember Banana Belt Bowler telling me, okay, this is how you pronounce your name. And this is when I used to hide behind the desk in the secretary area. And she'd come back and she just says, you're saying this name, and it was where's your house key? That's how she told me to say it. But then she says, instead of saying where, you say, whoa, where's your house key? And I was like, okay, that works. But until you do it once or twice and finally get it, and it's like, okay, I can do this. But now try to do that with 30, 40 seconds in between plays, and it's
trying to put it in quickly. And yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's our plight that we get to do this weekend. And there's a good volleyball weekend. We'll talk about that in the second hour. We're kind of gonna, at least for this week, go back to our original format when football is in full swing. And the first hour is going to be all football. Start with the NFL, go to college, end it with high school. Second hour will be all your baseball, your volleyball, all the LC stuff going on. We'll get our picks in at that point. Aussie rules football. So we'll get all that in the second hour. Again, next week is going to be just kind of a special one. We will just throw things at the wall, see what happens. I think it's going to be a light note week for week 100, depending on who we get in as guests and how many we get rotating in and stuff. But
we would do that on my bye week that I have time to actually.
Yes, it worked out really good.
Yeah.
At least you'll be here, because the next 2 weeks you won't be.
It's gonna be
unless
crazy.
the smoke continues. But we will digress there. Like I said, start with the NFL, and we will start with the game that just ended yesterday.
Do we have to?
It was well, let's get it out of the way before all the Seahawks fans remember we have a show and hop on and lose their minds. Let's just get this out of the way. But the Seahawks do get it's a significant win against the Denver Broncos, against former quarterback Russell Wilson. Denver's still better than Seattle.
Yes.
Denver's still a playoff contender.
Yes.
Seattle is not. But for the home fans there, that was a cool sign to see. Even if all it was the Denver Broncos completely butchering that fourth quarter.
I think it boiled down to clock management. They're
so bad.
Oh my God. And even listening to Daniels talk about it on NFL Network at the end of the game, and he's like, the clock management was so terrible. When you want to put your $256 million man with the ball, 4th and 5, instead of kicking a 64 yarder.
64-yard field goals that they went with.
But McManus has got a leg on him.
And there was 50 seconds left.
Yeah.
And they let 30 seconds run down before they finally called their timeout. They had 50 seconds and 3 timeouts. Yes, you have to get the 5 yards first, but you had plenty of time after that to get much closer. McManus has a boot. He had the distance on his field goal attempt. He just missed it a little bit to the left. I also want to bring up, we talk about time management. How about timeout management with Pete Carroll icing a kicker for a 64-yard field goal? Why? If he would have made that second one, which he almost did,
right?
The first one was horrible, but the second one was close. Like, why are you icing somebody from 64? That's not the point of icing. You're trying to get them nervous for an easy 35-yarder, not give them a practice shot.
No, I agree, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it even looked a little weird with the way those guys. It almost looked like they had a play ready to go, and for some reason they just were the comfort. Yeah, and then all of a sudden they didn't have it. That whole last minute and 40 seconds was crazy. But how about the ugly uniforms?
No, I'm not a fan.
Oh.
Do we want to talk about the positive or the negative real quick?
Well, there's always positives and negatives in everything.
Why not? But which one do you want to start with?
Let's go negative. The way my day was today and yesterday, let's just...
We'll just throw it out there. And again, I do think this is going to improve, but you can kind of tell Russell Wilson's still kind of getting used to his new weapons. It shows other teams that really struggled, and we're not going to talk about the Baltimore Jets game, even though you're a Baltimore fan. Okay. I'm a Jets fan. Congratulations to Baltimore for winning that game. It's just where it ranks on the significance of the rest of these games. If you take our fandom out of it, it was the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, out of all of them, we did another injury. We'll do that. We'll just say that we've already lost an offensive tackle. So
you and everyone else. Yeah. But Joe Flacco was dumped down city to running backs. Russell Wilson, same thing here. His leading receiver, Javonte Williams, had 11 catches on 12 targets. That just shows that he's not in sync with his receivers yet. Give credit to the secondary of Seattle for making it difficult and putting pressure on Wilson. Wilson looked like he was playing for the Seahawks again. He was running so much. But it just kind of shows that you're not quite there yet, and there's a lot of dump-offs. We saw that with a lot of other teams that are starting to struggle, and other teams that we will talk about in a little bit that did not have that issue at all. As far as the good side, I thought Geno Smith looked really good for what he was. Right. Especially, I mean, you have to remember he played many games last year as the backup when Russell got hurt. He didn't look that fantastic. He was accurate. He made some plays with his legs. Yes, he only ends up with 14 yards rushing, but most of his rushes ended up getting called back by penalty, but he was creating space. I honestly, I don't. If I thought the defense was going to be as good as it was on Monday, and Arizona's not looking that great, but they did play Kansas City. It's a fantastic team. Rams kind of laid an egg on their home opener. 49ers have their quarterback stuff. If I'm a Seahawks fan, I'm not freaking out going, we're going to win this division. But if the pieces continue to line up, you get Ken Walker back next week. As much as it disgusts me to say this, they might be in contention in a very weak NFC as far as making a playoff spot.
The only thing I would maybe differ a little bit from you with that is look at some of those throws that Geno had. Was that, I mean, some of them that was wide open to the point of, is this a ton of busted coverages that Denver just wasn't able to defend? I mean, you look at this touchdown. I mean, wide open. How do you get that wide open? And I hate to say it. Yeah, I kind of agree. Geno was able to extend plays, moving the pocket just a little bit to get that easy dump down. And he did throw a couple of passes that I saw with a lot of arm strength behind him. And I heard him in his post-game interview talk about it. People are still doubting him, even though he's been in the league for 10 years.
Right.
This is now basically, and this is where I'm going to agree with Seahawks fans for a minute. This is his offense now. I think that's a big difference. It's always been playing behind somebody he's got to compete with all the time. Now we know, this is his. What are they going to do with him offensively to build off of over the next couple of weeks?
Now, with that said, they head to San Francisco, who won't be playing in a swimming pool like they did against the Chicago Bears. And it just shows you the confidence Vegas has in Seattle. They're a 10-point underdog to a team that got beat up by a team that we thought was going to have a top 5 pick. So, it's just 1 week.
You look at that weather, though.
Oh, that game was
you watch them squeegee off the field in between, and by the time they got done, I don't know if you watched the last few minutes. That game,
I was focused on the good games at that point.
So I was, I was watching with the group there at one of our local establishments, and they had that game on. They finally had to change the colors of the lines.
Oh yeah,
with the contrast. The contrast, and put them up there. But it was crazy to watch the puddles of water just
puddles is an understatement. Just go watch the highlights. It's fantastic. Let's go to the Sunday Night Football. We won't spend as much time on this one as the rest, but I say it multiple times. I'm going to say it 20 more times during our NFL segment. Just 1 week.
Week 1.
It's just 1 week. A lot of teams are going to have ups and downs. Some teams are able to prepare with multiple weeks better than others. Sometimes you just have an off night. Dallas Cowboys are in trouble.
You think? Now you got to
rely
on Rush
Dak
as your quarterback.
Dak Prescott did not have a good game.
No.
Again, if that was just the case, it's 1 week. You're playing Tampa Bay. They got a good defense. Sunday Night Football, all of that. You've made the playoffs last year, trying to reach these ridiculous expectations that your fan base continues to throw on you. I wouldn't have had a big deal. Prescott's now out for 6 to 8 weeks. Zeke did not have this big breakout game that we saw from another running back that we were hoping that would, get back into to form, like Saquon Barkley. Again, it's just 1 week. They barely used Tony Pollard. That game Luckily, we were bowling for a lot of this because this game looked boring every time I sat and tried to watch it.
Every time I went up, and you're going to yell at me anyway because my head was not in it, and even bowling against you, it's like I was too busy doing other things, which I shouldn't have been. But every time I looked up, it looked like the Fournette was having a decent run. It didn't matter where he was at. It just looked like the linebackers for Dallas were not in the right spots at the right times. Every time I looked up and something was going on. Now, to think about ahead for the next couple of weeks, can you rely enough on Rush to run that offense? And I
don't know. It didn't look that great
on
Sunday night, but we will see going forward. Let's touch on the really fun games
Okay.
on Sunday. Let's start with a wild one in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow looked like he was playing for the Steelers for half this game.
Mm-hmm.
He was throwing it all over the place. The Steelers were fantastic in the secondary, really creating all sorts of havoc back there. Burrow does throw 4 interceptions. Trubisky was fine.
Yeah,
That's kind of what you want. I was surprised Najee Harris really struggled against the Cincinnati defense. But again, it's just 1 week. But Burrow's not going to be like this every week. No. And he was horrible. And the Bengals should have won this game.
Oh, hands down, they should have won it.
But you had the kickers had issues in overtime. We nearly had a tie. We have a tie we'll talk about in a second. We had a third game we almost had 3 games tied with the same score.
Yeah. And what I think the worst part about watching this one is, and I'm going to say it is our buddy Corey Everhart jinxed it. I mean, McPherson's got ice in his veins.
Well,
that's what he said.
Didn't work.
No, and that's the thing. As soon as he said it, I'm like, I'm going to lose my pick here, which I did.
Well, Corey's the jinxer. Haley is like predicting things perfectly. Oh, Lamar's not doing anything. I need Lamar to do something. Threw his first touchdown pass the very next play. Oh, I need this guy to miss the kick. Miss the kick. She was doing that the entire early games. It was frustrating me because it kept going against me.
But you look at that game a little bit more. You've got McPherson kick in and Chris Boswell, who's decent kicker. I would put him in the top, probably 7 or 8. Same with McPherson. These 2 guys, and it didn't look like it was very much weather that would cause any issues. How do you hook a ball that much?
You just miss hit it. It was a straight miss hit, not even close.
And we do know that the long snapper for Pittsburgh went out. We do know that. And so, but
honestly, I don't think the long snapper for Pittsburgh going out was that big of a deal. Boswell got a good connection with it. It just had this weird knuckleball effect where 5 yards closer, it's in. 5 yards before that, it would have missed completely, but no, just has to hit the post perfectly. That game was so crazy. So was the Colts Texans. We won't touch on it too much. First tie of the year, right off the bat, 20-20. Go ahead.
You play to win the game.
Says the guy. Says the guy that tied me in bowling on Sunday, and
like we meant to do that. We both snapped our win streak.
That was silly. Jonathan Taylor looked fantastic as always. Yep. Matt Ryan actually made a comeback.
Yes, he did.
Colts scoring 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to get it to overtime. Again, there was all sorts of miscues in overtime in that game, which gives us our first tie of the year. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with ties in the regular season. Once we get to the playoffs, obviously you have to change some stuff. But as far as regular season goes, doesn't bother me.
Lovie Smith is old school. I don't know. I don't understand why he didn't go for it. But for me,
if Lovie Smith is old school, he's cool with ties because they used to tie all the time.
Did you see that white beard? He looked like Santa Claus. No, listen, the guy that stood out, and we've talked about it, and that's got to be Jonathan Taylor. The numbers he put up, running the ball offensively against it's against the Houston team. Monster numbers. 161 yards. Could we have had another touchdown in there? Yeah, it would have looked a little bit better.
Well, fantasy owners would have loved it, I guess.
31 touches. I mean,
yeah. Giants, Titans could have been tied 20-20 at the end of 4 quarters, but Brian Daboll went, nah. I'm going for 2. I'm going for it right now. I really like this play, even if they don't make it. I believe they had all 3 timeouts left. There was a minute left. So you leave yourself the chance of either getting the onside kick or stopping them on 3 plays and still giving yourself the opportunity. It does give Tennessee a lot of time to go down, try to kick the field goal, and they missed the field goal there. But even if you kick the extra point, you still give Tennessee all that time, and they would have kicked the field goal to win instead of going to overtime. So I think there was zero risk for going for 2 and everything to gain, especially for a Giants team that none of us think are going to be that great. However, Saquon Barkley can average 9.1 yards a carry.
And I think that's a big thing. You and I have talked about this off show. But I'm impressed with the way the demeanor of Dable is. I mean, he
Mhm.
looks like he's having fun out there.
Oh yeah.
He's going to turn into that player's coach that guys are going to want to play for. And I think him going for that 2-point conversion was a
Mhm.
huge, huge thing for this team, especially the way they started out this game. They didn't look very good starting out.
Our buddy Danny Grubb, I haven't read this yet because he wrote a book. But in case of a time after overtime, do like baseball, place a runner at the 10 with 7 defensive man standing at the 5. Start a flat red rover. Danny Grubb. I don't know if I can get behind that one. That's pretty fun. That sounds like an XFL rule. Put that in the XFL, see how it goes. Last full game that we're gonna break down here, and then we'll start getting to the top performers and stuff. So Robert Taylor, calm down. We'll talk about Patrick Mahomes. But the New Orleans Saints
Yes.
became the newest team to make a comeback on the Atlanta Falcons. It's not Matt Ryan's fault.
Nope.
But Atlanta continues to not be able to hold on to leads. Just what is going on with that
Gotta be
team?
the Georgia Dome. They just need to demolish the Georgia Dome, build something else. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, every one of them has been in Georgia with all this going on. But
I liked Mariota. He looked okay for Atlanta. Again, he's just kind of your spot starter until you get a draft pick. I mean, but he looked okay. Winston looked pretty good in the fourth quarter, but again, it's against Atlanta in the fourth quarter, so everyone looks like Joe Montana and those aspects. Good to see Michael Thomas come back. Played the whole game, had a couple of touchdowns there. Just wild that once again Atlanta loses a game that they look like they had in the bag.
Well, the thing about it is Michael Thomas looked really good, a couple of big catches, but I mean, I hate to do it to you, but they drafted a quarterback.
And
let me remind you who they drafted.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted Desmond Ridder.
Mm-hmm.
Put him in the game. Let him play. I mean,
so he could blow the fourth quarter lead and you can completely implode him.
Ridder, I think, proved himself enough in college that he could be somebody that could play the position quite well. They can't get any worse than what they did over the last couple of years. Let him have the ball.
And he will. I just don't think that they feel like he is ready yet.
I don't think him sitting behind,
if he's going to be ready ever.
Right. But I don't think him sitting behind Mariota is never been impressed with Mariota.
But I don't think it matters. They're not trying to win right now. Let him learn under a veteran. It worked perfectly for Patrick Mahomes. He did not play till like the last week or two. It worked great for Aaron Rodgers. He didn't play for years. Or you can throw somebody out there week one and they can just get demolished and you get a Sam Darnold or a Baker Mayfield and then throw them on the same team and watch the world burn.
I think that's it's tough seeing this with this team is, you draft a high tight end last year in Pitts. You draft Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got two targets that are fairly young that are great players playing behind like Jake Matthews on the offensive line. What do they got to do to get winning the game? And I don't know why
play a fourth quarter.
Yeah, I don't know why it's hard to think about them not building a team to start winning and let these guys prove themselves.
They're in the process of it. Again, I have no problem with Mariota playing over Ridder. We'll see if Ridder's good later on, but
I think it's that one. I think it needs to be sooner than later.
And Mariota should be 1-0 right now.
Right,
but things didn't go quite that way. Let's look at the best performances. Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are like the Idaho Vandals of the NFL.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
We'll talk about the Vandals and how they 10-0 is their 28-3. I saw that from Trevin Pixley from the Tribune. I'll give him credit for that joke, but it's 100% true. Top performances first for the quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes just completely dominated Arizona. He made it look extremely easy. Robert Taylor the whole time. Tyreek, who didn't really need Tyreek. I don't even know if Tyreek would have helped in this game. I mean, even with his speed, they have speed elsewhere. Travis Kelce was fantastic. The running CEH looked really good. That Pascal kid that Taylor's been talking about for weeks now looked good in fourth quarter, just garbage time. There's a lot of talents on Kansas City, and they're behind a fantastic quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. 30 of 39, 360, and 5 touchdowns. Also credit to Josh Allen back on Thursday. 26-31, 297, and 3 touchdowns, defeating the defending Super Bowl champions. And you know what? We all laughed about Carson Wentz going to Washington. And it's like, oh, great. It was like, well, maybe they have a decent team and now, but they bring in Wentz and he just can't get things done. A lot of this comes in the second half. And yes, it's against Jacksonville and they're kind of working through things too. But 27 of 41, 313, 4 touchdowns. That's, I think, better than any of us expected for Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good first week for him. And you got to give him a shout out, I think. Right?
Oh, 100%. You know, I think he needed this change, but I think he needed it a couple years ago. And so I'm excited to see what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think that might be one of those teams that we are going to be way down on. He might be one of those.
No, I still think it's I think it's just the Eagles with the Cowboys losing their quarterback. But I don't see the Commanders competing. But again, like I said with Seattle, the NFC is really weak.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a team or two that really surprises us and sneaks in.
Yep.
And it wouldn't.
And again,
that could be one of them.
And again, you said it a couple times. It's only week 1.
It's only week 1.
And we're 18 weeks. So 17.
Go through some of the running backs that had a great week 1. DeAndre Swift nearly got the Lions into the victory column. That was a really fun game with the Eagles. 15 carries, 144 yards, and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley, like I said earlier, 18 carries, 164, and a touchdown as well. And again, Jonathan Taylor, 31 carries and 161 yards and a score. Wide receivers that really jumped out to me, Devontae Adams in his new home. It was a loss, but 10 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp had a loss. On Thursday, 13 catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson.
Minnesota looks good. Sorry, Haley. Minnesota looks real good.
If they look like that the rest of the time, that's the team to beat in the NFC.
Yep.
Period. Now, it's week 1.
And the thing is, they didn't throw much to Adam Thielen.
No.
And so,
you're right.
Sorry, Haley. I mean, he looked good.
I mean, we'll see. They got prime time next week. And we'll go from there. 9 catches, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did, an out route, I think, twice, and just burnt the Packers both times. And you're just like, how is he wide open? I remember, I forget who was doing the play-by-play. Thanks for censoring yourself, Haley. Haley's here in the comments cussing at us. But even the commenters were just going, "What? How is he?" It's like you should have the 3 guys just blanketing him the whole time. And then can't forget the defense. Can't forget Pittsburgh. Mika Fitzpatrick, the safety, 10 solo tackles and interceptions and a touchdown. Alex Highsmith, their linebacker, 6 solo tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. And then Khalil Mack, first game with Chargers, 5 solo tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. There's a lot of fantastic performances. We can't hit them all here. All I have to say is that was a fantastic week 1.
All right. So it was. But we're going to throw this up here.
No. Stop. No, that's fine. You can put it back up. But I'm just telling Denny Grubb to stop. They both coursed horribly. Hackett was horrible, but it wasn't because Pete Carroll outcoached him. Pete Carroll still called a stupid timeout, icing somebody trying to kick a 64-yarder.
I think Robert Taylor says this better. Hackett outcoached Hackett.
100%. Now, on top of that, you're in the red zone twice and you fumble it twice. That's not Hackett's problem.
No.
But at the end of the game, going down for the final drive, Hackett did not hack it.
Melvin Gordon, hold on to the ball.
Yep. All right. What's the game that you're most excited for next week?
You know, you took the one that I thought was, and I went through. Week 2 doesn't excite me as much as week 1 did. So I'm going one on Monday night, and it's got to be, does Tennessee bounce back against who we really think could easily be Offensive Player of the Year or MVP, Josh Allen. So Tennessee at Buffalo Monday night. I think that's probably the game to watch.
It's also crazy they're a 10-point underdog. In that game. I was able to get into the notes first, so it's Thursday night. Amazon Prime got a steal with their first game on their platform. Please have a good presentation, Amazon. Please. Your baseball's not good. But the Chargers and the Chiefs at Arrowhead, as Robert says, that is your game of the week. Some of the other games that are kind of good, I guess, Tampa Bay and New Orleans is going to be interesting because New Orleans always plays Tampa Bay really, really good.
Mhm.
So that'll be fun. Will the Patriots bounce back? Probably not against the Steelers. Dolphins and your Ravens should be a pretty good
It'll
game.
be okay.
Can the Seahawks continue it against the 49ers? That'll be an interesting game. The other Monday night game, Vikings at Eagles. That could be your top 2 teams in the NFC.
I like
like when this schedule came out, we joked about, all right, we have 2 Monday night games on week 2, and they're what? An hour difference. So you're not going to be able to watch both of them. It's like, the poor Vikings and Eagles just kind of got thrown in there just for fun. I know you picked the Titans and Bills. Vikings and Eagles might be the better game on Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. And I'm hoping to end practice early because it's a bye week for us. So, only miss about the first quarter of the other one. But, it's one of those ones like you have at your house. It's a split game. You got one on both, one on each TV, and you're watching both of those. I'm impressed. I like, and I did pick. And sorry, Haley, again, but I picked Minnesota to beat and win that division. But the Eagles, Jalen Hurts came out looking quite well.
Pretty good.
And so
we'll see how it all stacks out. All right. So we're going to do a new contest this year. It's kind of like an eliminator. And I've heard this on other radio shows before. I think I've heard them do it with the NBA. But it works out really good. We have 18 weeks in the regular season.
Right.
18 teams do not make the playoffs. So every week, you and I are going to eliminate a team from postseason contention.
All right.
One team we just don't think is going to make it. We cannot take them back out and put them back in contention if they start going on a winning streak. So hopefully by the end of it, you and I have both eliminated the 18 teams that will not make the postseason, and we haven't screwed this up. I'm going to go with a risky one, but I'm going to go with a team that I did not think was going to be that great going in. I thought this was going to be a horrible year for them. And then they were the only one of those teams that I was putting in that kind of category that completely no-showed the first week. I'm eliminating the New England Patriots. I know it's risky to eliminate Bill Belichick in week 1, but I'm going to have some fun with this. So the New England Patriots, I am eliminating from postseason contention.
Yeah, and I think that's a good one. I'd have waited a little bit on that one, but, I think this is.
I just wanted to wait a week before I eliminated my Jets. Okay.
I think this is the year. And you and I have talked about this. I think this is the year Bill Belichick says, "No, I'm done. I'm ready to go play golf." So I think that's a good thing. For me, wow, you're a little early with that.
That's a little riskier than mine.
Yeah. For me,
it could be right, and I don't think either of us put Denver in our playoffs. But.
No, I don't think so. No. For me, I'm just going to get rid of it right now, and I'm going to knock them out. Get rid of Lovie Smith in Houston, Texas. There's still so much drama going on down there.
Hey, undefeated. 0-1.
You play to win the game.
Yes.
I think that was a bad coaching move for him. I think he's just there to take up time.
Dan Grubb eliminated the Broncos as well. I like the riskiness. It's fantastic.
So
I want to ask you a question.
All right.
We got to move on, but I'm just going to go through real quick, just rapid fire, just to show you the week 1 craziness. I'm going to give you the division leader right now. In every division, you tell me yes or no, they're winning the division.
Yep.
Miami Dolphins.
No.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
No.
Houston Texans.
No. God's sakes, no.
Los Angeles Chargers.
Man. Yes.
Oh, you're flipping your pick in 1 week.
Yes.
1 week. Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
New Orleans Saints.
No.
Seattle Seahawks. They have a 1-game lead on the whole division.
No,
I don't think so either. That just shows you it's fun after 1 week. It's great to overreact. We've had an extra day to calm down about things.
Just a little bit.
All right. You have a Who Am I?
I do.
All right.
I tried to hurry and do it last night, so I did.
I was hoping I was going to avoid this.
Bad
Go ahead.
Bad part. I think Mr. Grubb.
Robert wants to just wait or no. Did he say yes or no on the Chargers? Robert Hagan said yes.
I said yes.
Robert in 1 week flip flopped.
I did. I want to know.
You took the Chiefs.
Did I take the Chiefs?
Yeah, I took the Chargers because I said I would bet 1 penny on it.
That's what it was. because I remember because we had Chris Band messaging last week, and he
About
was
the Raiders.
about the Raiders, and he was all about them finishing ahead. That the Raiders were going to finish ahead.
No,
of
you took the
Chargers.
Chiefs to win the division. I said the Chargers, but I'd bet 1 penny.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've already
Now I
flip-flopped.
remembered.
It's already flip-flopped. It's locked
Hey,
in.
it's only week 1.
All right.
All right. Who am I for this week? I was born in the Bay Area. I was a 2-sport athlete in high school, playing baseball and basketball. During my senior year of high school, I struck out 121 batters and also threw a perfect game. I was drafted in the 4th round of my senior year of high school, but I accepted a full-ride scholarship to attend college and play baseball. While in college, I also played 2 years of basketball. That's all you get right now.
Can I just throw out a guess?
Sure.
And not get eliminated?
Sure.
Charlie Ward.
No.
Okay. I just throwing one out. I just trying to think of basketball players that also played baseball. In my head.
Didn't Charlie play?
Oh no, he was football. He was the Heisman Trophy winner that
honestly,
then went and played basketball.
Charlie Ward, if I remember right, went to the same high school as my father did in Thomasville,
That's
Georgia.
right. He was the Heisman that was a Nick. I was just thinking of basketball players and other sports and went the wrong route. You are correct. All right, let's get into some college football, and we'll kind of run through some of this. I'm just going to run through all the upsets that happened.
Okay.
And then you just kind of tell me which ones really stood out to you. So you had Appalachian State defeating number 6 Texas A&M 17-14. Appalachian State seems to do this every 10 years. You had Marshall defeating number 8 Notre Dame 26-21. By the way, preseason polls are jokes. And the only reason this even seems like
we talk about that all the time.
The only reason this seems like an upset is because they ranked Notre Dame so high. They're now 0-2. So is this an upset or is it just a misranking?
I think
because it's Notre Dame.
Yep.
Number 21 BYU defeated number 9 Baylor in overtime 26-20. Number 20 Kentucky went into the swamp and beat number 12 Florida 26-16. Number 24 Tennessee defeated number 17 Pittsburgh 34-27 in overtime. Not much of an upset, but if you go by the rankings, it is. And the fun one that's close to home, Washington State defeating number 19 Wisconsin 17-14. How cool is it to see the coaches who's from that area go in there, get the big win, and just lose their minds at the 50-yard line?
And I didn't get to see any of this game, but I remember them talking. Digger was talking about him going back home and how many tickets he had to sell, and from talking to a few people who watched the entire game and all that, they said it was so cool to see that moment of what he could do. Have we underestimated what the Cougars can do this year?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, they played one team. They struggled against Idaho.
10-0.
And nearly lost that game.
Yeah, they did.
And then they had a great battle with Wisconsin. I think that's just going to be this team. They're not. I mean, we think of Washington State as like an air raid offense, and I still think they're even categorized as an air raid offense. But they're not going to blow you out of the water offensively. But they're going to keep themselves in it, and that's all you really need to do. And then it's a 1-possession game either way, and then we'll see if they can come away on top. But I got to watch a little bit of this one, especially because it was right after the next game we're talking about with Alabama and Texas. So I was able to watch some of that before I had to go off and do some other stuff. But the team looks like they belong. And after what the disappointing look that we saw in the Pac-12 the first week, I thought they represented themselves a bit better in the second week. And now they're going to have a bit easier competition this week. Can they compete with the USCs of the Pac-12? I'm not quite sure, but they're no joke. They're going to make a bowl game. And they're going to be a tough out wherever they go.
Yeah. I think right now I looked at they're like 17-point favorite or something when I was looking. But yeah, I would like to go back and watch a little bit of the highlights of how Wisconsin, where they struggled a little bit. At one point, from what I was told, they basically, the Cougars gave the ball back to Wisconsin at the end of the first half and give them a touchdown to get back ahead 14-7 at halftime. So I just hope that they can keep things going. Maybe with the new coaching change, everything with Rolovich hopefully is out of thing. Oh, no, I'm just saying.
I'm with you. I'm hoping
as long as that's out of, and let Dick run his offense the way it should be. I think that's going to be better.
Mhm.
I think for me, what I'm more excited about watching with those Cougars is how can the defense stay disciplined enough to make plays in the middle of the field. I think that's the big thing is they've given up a lot of plays up the gut that have broke out to the outside. Uh, that defense needs to step up just a little bit. I don't think they have an issue against Colorado State this weekend. I think next weekend is the big one, as it's going to be a mid-afternoon game against the Oregon Ducks. So that'll be, honestly, I think besides Wisconsin, I think this is going to be the main game for this Cougar team is what they can do against the Ducks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think that I saw a 16.5-point favorite against Colorado State. We'll do our predictions for that in the next hour, but most likely,
Right.
hey, you know where we're going. Talk about this number one Alabama scare at Texas. First off, credit to Nick Saban for sending his team to a good opponent on the road. It's a home and home deal. It has not updated on mine, so I absolutely love that because they were trailing by 57 now for Aaron Judge, according to Denny Grubb. There it is. Popped up on my thing. There's the Richie text. I'm getting it from everywhere. 57 home runs. Got a long ways to go. And they weren't small home runs in this game with Boston. That's for sure. But Alabama, taking on a decent competition in Texas who have been kind of in the dumps. Let's say that for the Longhorns over the last 10, 15 years or so. But still going out there, a future SEC team in the Longhorns. And you know what? That atmosphere was absolutely insane. I loved every second of it. The thing that I absolutely loved is the fact that Hudson Card is our backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Not only a backup quarterback, he's a backup quarterback that is injured.
Yeah.
He scrambled one time and looked like he wasn't even going to be able to get back to the huddle. And he toughed it out and he kept him in it. They gave him the lead late. Bryce Young did a good job getting him down there for the field goal, get the win. But it was a fun game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You watch the injury to Quinn Ewers there. I want to say that was early second quarter when he went down, if I remember right. But watching what Card could do in motivating that offense was just phenomenal. And I think hats off to the defense. I mean, what they were doing. Jalen Ford alone, 10 tackles. I mean, he looked really, really good. And they got to Young a couple of times. I want to say it just 2 sacks, even though Young looked flustered a couple of times. But there's a reason why Bryce Young was the Heisman last year. I mean, he played well when it mattered in the fourth. Honestly, if I had to pick a college game, or even maybe, I hate to stretch this, but that was, out of all the games I watched, probably the most exciting. I mean, it topped over watching our game. I enjoyed watching.
Well,
Alabama,
a lot of
Texas,
a lot of games
more.
topped the Baltimore Jets game.
Yeah,
all right, and let's just be perfectly clear. There were 16 NFL games. I'd probably rank the Jets Baltimore game like 14th.
Probably, yeah.
Totally fine. But yeah, I think Alabama will be just fine. They do avoid the scare with Texas. We'll see where that goes. Idaho for the second straight week facing an FBS team, jump out to a 10-0 lead in the second quarter and can't hold on. Indiana ends up winning that one 35-22. Still, if you're a Vandal fan, you've now played WSU and Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been in both games. You jumped out early in both games. Coach Eck, in the Monday meeting, because it was brought up in the Tribune article, basically said, well, maybe I need a better halftime speech, or I need to work on my halftime speech. But now that they're going to start playing teams of their caliber, start playing some of the big Sky teams here in a couple weeks, Vandals are going to be okay.
I think they're going to have a great season, like we talked about earlier. In the year, I think just he has that same motivation almost. His personality is kind of the same as Brian Dable. Mm-hmm. I think those two could be intertwined,
or Dickert for the Cougars.
Yeah, I mean, the way that those guys their mentality and how they want to play. I think this could be a team. I've never been a Petrino fan.
I don't think anybody around here
watching
was.
what he did just didn't sit right. And I think now watching Eck the way he is doing things, I think this is going to be a team that's going to turn things around, and probably get back to the way that Big Sky football was played years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on. Oh, and by the way, your upset pick of Eastern Washington beating Oregon didn't work. I put 10-7-40, but it was 70-40. Oregon crushing Eastern Washington. Thanks for getting that pick. We'll talk about your horrible picks next hour.
I did that.
Don't do anything for Paul. Do things to get picks right. So get to high school football.
I had to give you a lead.
Where is your Bengals hat?
I didn't have a hat. I don't have a hat.
Jeez.
I wore yellow, but I wore more yellow for our past Ashland Wallace. I'm wearing my AP3.
It's orange, but I know you're colorblind.
I am colorblind. It looks yellow. It's yellow.
It kind of looks yellow on the screen.
Come on, it's yellow.
It's orange. But Lewiston Bengals take it to the Clarkston Banners, 52-12. You were there.
It was hard to watch.
Tell us about it.
It was hard to watch. Being a Bantam fan and PA announcer and all that, it was tough to watch. But you and I talked about it. I had many conversations pregame down on the field with different people. It was going to come down to if the Bantams could stop the running game, and it just didn't happen. Between Hottinger and Evans and what they could do, they just ran the ball all over the place. And, that put a lot of pressure on Nikaika Milan to make stops. Also, you get a lot of pressure on the sophomore. I mean, even Josh Hoffman played quite well.
Danny Grubb making fun of the Tribune video we do at 2 a.m. on Saturdays. It was like 2:30, I think, when we finally got to record it this week. It is difficult to find energy at that point of time. But we have fun with it, whether it's quality or not. I don't care. It's the only thing you get because Clue has now decided that they don't want to talk about Friday night football till Monday. So you want to hear about the stuff and hear it from some people that have watched some of these games. Or if NFHS could work better, I would watch a lot more of these games, but they don't. The internet doesn't seem to want to work at the Tribune for me to be able to watch the NFHS stuff. But obviously, Trevin's going to a lot of these games. We have a lot of fun talking about it.
Trevin sat in the box, and I went over to Jamin. I said, "How did you let Trevin sit in the box?" He sat next.
Trevin almost took your spot tonight.
Well, he probably would have filled in quite well.
Oh yeah.
But he sat in the box next to Lynn Kelly, and so it was kind of nice to. The conversations that were happening across the booth, it was good, but the Bantams didn't play super terrible. They got ran over by a running offense.
We talk about it every year. Lewiston is the bigger school. Exactly. They have the bigger roster. This year they have the bigger players.
Yes,
that line for the Bengals is massive, and while it didn't show up against Layton in that first game, Layton had already played 2 games. Bengals are starting to get things going. They had over 300 rushing yards against the Bantams this week. Lathan had, 140 yards unofficially back on Friday. I never looked at the official totals once they change them and rewatch things, but he was absolutely fantastic. It's nice to see the Bengals really going. I think the Bantams will be just fine. Yeah. They've shown it already that they are going to be a very good team. Let's move on to the Pullman Greyhounds and the Moscow Bears. 2 teams that were really struggling coming in. It was a 12-12 game after 3 quarters. And then in 5 minutes, Pullman scored 20 points and ended the game.
Yeah.
That's how quick that goes. And Moscow did everything they could. They were throwing trick plays out there. I think they're starting to figure it out a little bit. But when the floodgates open, sometimes you just can't stop it. It's what happened with Pullman here and get the 20-point win.
And that's the thing with Pullman too, is I've watched it over the last couple of years, seeing the numbers even in their junior high level taper off, and they're finally coming back up to where they should be. A few more players out there, that it's growing itself back up, but it had went through a learning curve with those guys and where they were at. So it'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. That's the game I won't be able to watch. I think I'll be able to stream it on their YouTube page when we play Clarkston. What is it? The week of the 14th is when Pullman plays Clarkston up in Pullman. So it'll be an interesting game to watch. But I don't know.
And real quickly, Denny Grubb asks, should they stop the rivalry? Talking about Lewiston and Clarkston.
You know, I as much as I love the rivalry and stuff, I think the bigger thing for me is they play it very early to get it done and over with. And
well, yeah, especially that's a Clarkston thing now because of how big their league is,
and that's the thing. And years ago, you know, even when I was in school, it was played like week 6, week 7 later in the season.
Yeah, wasn't it? Because I know we've gotten all the crazy stats that Denny Grubb does. It used to be like a Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah, around Thanksgiving time, the end of October to that 3-week period. That's when it was.
But no, I even if I obviously went to Lewiston and I'm a Bengals supporter. Even if Lewiston wins every game for the rest of eternity, which they won't, Clarkston will get wins here and there. You can't stop the rivalry because it's so great for the community.
It's huge for the community.
They use this game for all the donations and charity work and fundraisers, just like Golden Throne. Golden Throne's a lot more competitive than this football game is, but the football game also brings in a ton of money.
Yeah,
and
there was probably close. I figured we were talking about it up in the box just prior. Brian Bremley and I were talking. Probably easy 5,000.
Yeah. Now they just need the baseball game, which was at Harris Field last year. They need to get it to that level, and then you get it in.
Yeah, then we were talking
all three sections of sport. It'd be great.
We were talking about it, and why that came up was seeing a new house sang the national anthem, and she was all worried. The senior, you know, she was just like, "How many people do you think is out there?" It said, "Lean out and look." And it's like, there is so many people. I said, you're probably going to sing in front of about 5,000 people. And she just kind of...
You're trying to make her lose her mind?
She told me, she says, you let me know. Just tap me. I'm going to face the back of the press box.
Poor girl.
Well, she didn't even have me announce her name until after she was done singing. And I love the Newhouse family. I have Silas at school with me now, but it's just crazy to say that. But you know, it was nice. This is the first time the game has been back there in what we say,
4 years.
4 years. Because
I missed it for 2020.
Yeah, and so
2018 was the last time. Some other fun games that happened on Friday at the high school level. Prairie and Potlatch put over 1,100 yards of offense and a 56-52 win for Prairie. That game was absolutely insane. Trent Lawrence ended up with 4 total touchdowns and nearly 400 yards of offense. Colton McElroy had 5 touchdowns for Prairie. Wyatt Johnson, 5 total touchdowns. But my favorite stat for Johnson, 3 receptions for 146 yards and 3 touchdowns. He caught the ball 3 times. He scored 3 times. So he stopped at 146 yards because the goal line stopped him every time. Absolutely unstoppable.
Could he what the numbers he's put up so far, could he easily be the player of the area right now?
No, there's been some ridiculous stats, especially with 8-man football. It's tough to say a receiver that got 3 catches is it. But Wyatt Johnson's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he was the best player in that game, but he was really good. Probably the closest game of the week, Council defeating Lewis County 30-26. Noah Watson was a yard short. Talking to Monty Madrell, the head coach for Lewis County, and hearing about what happened in this game, and luckily I've been able to find a video of the ending of this game. Basically, Lewis County goes down, takes the lead. Council comes right back down, takes the lead back with 30 seconds to go in this game. 36 seconds, I wanted to say, right in that area. Wyatt Webb takes the kickoff return, takes it all the way down to the 7-yard line. Now they're about the 7 to 10-yard line, right in that area. Last play of the game, Ty Hambley scrambles out, and I said it on our Friday night, Saturday morning show. You watch the video, and you feel bad for the kid because obviously he feels somebody grabbing his ankle. So he tries to get rid of it quickly, but he had actually broken away from the defender and had a chance to set his feet, but gets it away. The receiver comes and gets the ball, but it was a little low, so he has to fall. And high school rules, once you're on the ground, you're down. He could have, if that wasn't a rule, he could have rolled in, but ends up half a yard short, just a wild game there between County and Lewis County. Lewis County is a pretty good team. That's for sure. We'll look at some of the other ones just real quick. As Asotin gets their first win against Tri-Cities. Was it 23-18? Asotin scored the first 17 points, then Tri-Cities scored the next 18, and Asotin came back and won that game. And one last shout out I want to bring out too is Garfield Palouse, bringing back that football program this year, trying to get things going. They lose to KO Rosalia 62-22, but they lose their starting quarterback in their first game of the year. And again, this is a small program. You can't have these kind of injuries. They lose their starting quarterback, the opener. They lose their backup quarterback in this game. They have to go to a freshman running back as their quarterback the rest of this game. And Lane Collier, shouts out to that kid, comes in there in a horrible situations, 2 passing touchdowns and a kickoff return. Scored all 22 points for that team. So shout out to him for sure. We'll get into the other games that are going to come coming up next week when we get to our pick'ems near the end of the show. But right now, sir, you stumped me so far. Give me part 2 of Who Am I?
All right. So we did say he was a two-sport athlete. He struck out 121 in his senior year and threw a perfect game, and also played basketball while he was on a full ride scholarship in college. He was drafted again in 1985. He made his major league debut in 1988 and played for 7 different teams. I was a dominant pitcher and was known for many big moments in Major League Baseball, especially in spring training and in the playoffs.
Especially in spring training?
I'm leaving it at that.
Is it Randy Johnson hitting a bird?
Well, why would you think that?
Oh, Denny, you're spoiling it for me. We'll get to that no in a second. Because it's the right answer, right?
It might be.
If you can get your share screen to work.
Did it work? Did it pop up?
No.
It didn't pop up yet.
No. It's Randy
What
Johnson.
the heck? It is.
It's the only pitcher I've ever think of for a minor league or a spring training deal. There you go.
It is, and I even put it up there with I found this picture with all 3 of them, 3 of the 7 teams he played with.
Yeah, we don't talk about one of them. He was not good for the Yankees.
But you look at what he did numbers wise: 10-time All-Star, World Series champion, 5-time Cy Young winner, 4-time ERA leader, pitched a no-hitter, perfect game, and most of all, he's a Hall of Famer. It's had his number retired by Arizona, also a Hall of Famer with the Mariners. And
Look at that. Didn't need help. I didn't need assists. I didn't get beat by anybody today.
2 more. Top 5 in career strikeouts. He is actually number 2. And behind who?
Is it Cy Young? Is that or Nolan Ryan?
Nolan Ryan.
Yeah. Cy Young has all the other categories.
And then my last one, if you weren't going to get it, was my nickname fits my stature. I am the big unit.
There you go. All right. You are listening and watching the R&R Sports Report on KLCZ 88.9 FM, KLCZ.com. Again, we're back in studio. Things are working.
It is nice.
And don't forget the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. We have hit 600 followers on the Facebook page. We will be doing the MMA training. Again, trying to get schedules to work out has been a bit more of a task than we were thinking, but again, I really want to get this done as fast as possible so we're not getting into their training when they go into fight mode. I did see Brian on Saturday because he was one of the guys officiating cross country.
You shared this story with me,
and I just walked up to him and asked him for mercy. That's all I did. I was like, just please mercy when we do this. And he laughed at me. He goes, I'm not the one you have to worry about. You have to worry about Austin. And I was like, great. I was like, so I got to avoid Austin Arnett, who runs the thing. But he was like, don't worry. Me and Dimitri will take care of you. Jared has to be soft because he's such a big dude. He's just used to it. He told me a story of him and Jared sparring once, and Jared doing something and just stopping and goes, I could have killed you if I wanted to. And Brian goes, yeah, no, thank you.
That's what scares me. I mean, but he's a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
A big teddy bear. Every time I see him, hand out, shake your hand. But dude, that dude's got huge mitts, man.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have fun. There's going to be a lot of trash talking
Gonna
their
be a lot of
parts. There might
crying.
be crying. There might be puking. There might be blood. Who knows? There's gonna be some tears. I think
Lots
on our
of
part.
tears.
But we'll have fun either way. Also, with the cross country, I know he's not listening, but shout out to my son who knocked off 2 minutes on his personal best
That's
over
awesome,
there
man.
at the Riverview cross country meet that he did last year. He was like in the 60th someplace last year for his first ever event, finished 11th yesterday. It still frustrates me because we tried to get that bozo to run all summer. Cross country is doing all these special events. Go run with them. Nah. Well, they want you to run this and that. Go run. Nah. It's like, well, you're not going to get better if you don't run. Doesn't run all summer. Does a couple weeks of practice, cuts off 2 minutes of his time. Haley does believe that he cut off 2 minutes of his time because his legs grew 5 inches and the stride's a bit better, but that's neither here nor there.
Dude, he's gonna be taller than you.
He's
within
getting
like a
he's
year.
getting there quick. He's already passed Haley. The jump
Well,
he had
everybody's
last
past
the jump,
Haley.
yeah, that's true. The jump he had this last year was pretty crazy.
What
right.
what is he? He's got to be what?
He's 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah,
Yeah,
and probably
14.
probably about
87 pounds.
Is that it?
No, I don't know.
I was thinking like 110. I mean, he's not.
I don't think he's hit triple digits yet.
Really.
Yeah, I was a skinny kid back then too. So he is definitely taken up after me.
I every time I see him, it's just like, dude, where have you grown?
It's getting ridiculous. All right, let's get to the MLB scoreboard as we've now got through our football section of the show. Finals so far: Pirates beat the Reds 6-1, and then beat them again 1-0 in that doubleheader. The Rays beat the Blue Jays 4-2 in that first game of the doubleheader. Blue Jays getting their revenge up 6-2 right now in the bottom of the 8th. Guardians defeated the Angels 3-1. There's a Trout stat we'll talk about. The streak is over, thanks to Robert Hagen again. The Astros take care of business with the Tigers 6-3, and the Phillies beat the Marlins 2-1. Those are your finals. As Denny said in the comments of our Facebook page, the Twins have a no-hitter through 8 innings. They are 3 outs away. Joe Ryan was the starting pitcher. He went 7, struck out 9, walked 2. And then Giovanni Moran came in and pitched the 8th inning. So we will keep you up to date. Right now, they're in the bottom of the 8th inning. Minnesota leading 6-0. There's 1 out there. So we will keep you updated as we go along. Yankees and Red Sox are tied at 4 in the top of the 9th inning. As mentioned before, Aaron Judge, 2 home runs today, up to 57 now on the year. I haven't looked up what his pace is at the moment because he went 5 games without one.
It was 63 as of this morning.
It's got to be back up to that 65, 66 range. I'll try to look it up here in a second. Blue Jays, I believe, just added 2 runs. They're up 7-2 now in the bottom of the 8th. As Denny Grubb again said, Orioles still alive. They're up 4-3 over the Nationals in the bottom of the 8th inning. Cubs up 4-1 over the Mets in the bottom of the 9th. That's a big score right now. Brewers over the Cardinals, trying to keep their NL Central hopes alive. They lead 7-4 through 6. Athletics over the Rangers 7-5 in the 6th. White Sox over the Rockies 2-3 in the 7th. And just getting started, and all of these are scoreless. Dodgers and Diamondbacks in the 2nd, Padres and Mariners in the 1st, and Braves and Giants in the 1st. If the Mets lose, that's a big nightcap for the Braves to try to get that win. I believe that ties them back up with New York for the top NL East spot. And that's going to be a really fun race. No, they put them a half game back. Sorry.
That's still going to be a great.
That's going to be a great
finish.
Great. Probably the only one that's going to be super close. The AL wild card is going to be interesting as far as who's going to get home field.
Right.
And while the O's are still alive, they've definitely lost some opportunities to really get back into it. I do think it's going to be the Rays, the Blue Jays, and the Mariners as the wild card teams. It's just who's going to get that home field spot, and then who's going to have to play the AL Central winner. But that'll be interesting. But as far as news goes, Mike Trout had homered in 7 consecutive games. He was 1 shy of the major league record. He remains 1 shy of the MLB record, who I believe Don Mattingly's part of that, right?
I think so.
I think he said it and then has been tied, but I can't remember. Denny, let us know who he's tied with, but I'm pretty sure Don Mattingly is part of that tie at 8. Albert Pujols, no longer in a tie. Congratulations to the Cardinal. He is now 4th all time. He passes, Mattingly. Oh, Griffey, there you go. You should have known that one, sir. Albert Pujols now 4th all time, passing A-Rod 697. And what a class act. Fans try to give him the ball, and he's like, I don't want it. Now, he may not say the same thing when he hits 700. But for them, it's like, you're going to enjoy that ball a lot more than me. It just shows you the class that Pujols has.
Well, yeah, and especially with the part of the reason why they went to give it back, and then they told him, what had been going on, with the lady's dad passing away, and he just basically said, it means more to you than it would mean, and gave him a couple more baseballs, signed baseballs. I mean, this is that guy this is why we love. He's in that same category as Miggy. I mean, there's the personality side of these players, and it's bigger than the game with the personality. And it's not about anybody else. It's kind of the same thing we've said with Joey Votto and how he deals with some of the kids that he deals with on the in the stands prior to game and that kind of stuff. Wish more players took the opportunity to spend time with others, and we didn't put it in the notes, but it was kind of the same thing as what I saw at the end of the WWE house show the other night when Denise and I went up and watched the house show. And yes, you and I talked. Drew McIntyre is the face of SmackDown and franchise. He's one of the
as far as the ones that travel,
right?
Like,
and the ones that travel.
Roman Reigns doesn't travel,
right? And they stuck around, and he walked up and down both sides of the aisle, different side. He was like 20 minutes after his last match, and it's those kind of people I wish all of sports athletes did. It's not about the game. It's like making connections with the fans.
For sure. I mean, obviously you want to win the game.
Oh yeah.
You play to win the game, but it's those moments as well. You're still entertaining, and you're there to put on a show. And Albert Pujols is a class act, 100%. Let's go from class act to not class act. Did you see in the Guardians Angels game, I want to say 2 days ago, maybe it was yesterday, Terry Francona and Phil Nevin both got ejected, opposing managers, without a pitch being thrown.
I didn't see how it started, but I'd heard Francona had gotten tossed.
So Francona gets tossed because a pitch comes in, goes right near the foot. I forget who is batting. Comes right near his foot, bounces up, and the player, of course, points at his foot because he's trying to get the call. Francona comes out several seconds later and wants them to review it or whatever, and they say, no, we can't review it. He goes, no, I think you can. So they huddle up. Go, nope, we can't review it. Francona gets all mad, gets tossed. During this, the pitcher now wants to throw a couple warm-up pitches because this took a while. The home plate umpire, who, again, I am absolutely blanking on, but needs to be suspended. I cannot remember his name at all, but loses his mind and takes 5 steps towards the pitcher, yelling at him like, no, we're not waiting for you to throw warm-up pitches. I'm done. Let's go. So Phil Nevin comes out and gets in an argument with him, and he gets tossed. Again, no pitch has been thrown between either of this. And then when Nevin gets tossed, the relief pitcher, all of a sudden, he can throw a couple pitches while that argument goes on. So good job on Nevin to get the back of his bullpen guy. What a mess. That was one of those where it's like, just baseball is dumb at times, where they don't communicate anything. There was one review, I think, in one of the Yankee games I saw earlier where they got done. They had this long conversation and just went back to playing. And the announcers went, so what happened? Ron Culpa. Thank you, Denny, for that. It's just, dude needs to be suspended. Absolutely horrible. Twins are out of the 8th inning. They go to the 9th looking for the no-hitter against the Royals. It's been months since we have had a no-hit. Watch this late. That completed. We had the one, a week or two ago that was 1 out away. So we'll see if we can finally get one that gets completed. Some injury notes for you. Max Scherzer throws a simulation game / rehab game. He'll be activated later on in the week. and get him a couple of starts before postseason starts. Verlander is throwing some bullpen, so it looks like he will be able to start this weekend. Again, get a couple games in there. Oh, yeah, there you go. Danny Grubb saying first combined no for Twins history if they can complete it. So that's pretty cool. I know the Yankees have 87 people trying to come back. It's just been a lot of see if we can come back, see if we can make a run. Let's look at the American League right now. Yankees, if we go through the last weekend series, excuse me. Yankees took 2 of 3 from the Rays. They scored 20 gazillion runs in the first 2 innings of the Saturday and Sunday games, which made them kind of laughers, but I very much enjoyed them. 7 straight singles on Saturday to start the game for the Yankees against Corey Kluber. Blue Jays took care of business. They took 2 of 3 against the Rangers. Red Sox took 2 of 3 against the Orioles, which really put Baltimore in a tough spot. Guardians sweep the Twins. Did they sweep them out of postseason play?
It's going to be interesting. I thought there was a chance, but I think possibly I would say yes.
White Sox took 2 of 3 from the Athletics. Astros taking 2 of 3 from the Angels in a fun series, and we'll talk about that Sunday game in a second. Mariners taking 2 of 3 from the Braves. You came in, and I had stopped paying attention to that game. I'm watching football. I'm watching the race. Like I saw the Mariners were up 5-1 or whatever. You always see the Mariners came back. Like from what? Talk about that ninth inning.
I was on my way to the bowling alley. I was listening to Aaron Goldsmith, the radio guy, along with Rick Riz, calling that one, and
1 out in Minnesota,
1 out, and listening to them as the Braves had taken the lead in the top of the 9th and come up and got a quick out, and then up stepped Julio Rodriguez. He had already had a home run in the game, and he hit a ball from listening to Goldsmith call that shot. Could have went. It sounded everything he was talking about could have went through the scoreboard. It had hit so far, and they said it was registered at 117 miles an hour.
It's pretty good,
right through there, and then give up another out, and then Mr. Suarez with another.
Oh, is that why you put them as your possible player of the week? Because they did one thing.
They had a great. A great Sunday.
Stop it! You look at the standings coming into today. Astros 11.5 game lead over the Mariners. That one's done. I do feel like the Yankees have taken back control of the AL East as they won that series with Tampa Bay. They're at 5.5 on Tampa Bay, 6 games on Toronto. They're beating each other up right now. Guardians starting to get a little bit of a gap in the Central. They're 3 up on the White Sox, now 5 up on the Twins, who lost 4 games to the Guardians over the weekend. The sweep obviously helps. Like I said, the Rays and the Mariners right now half game up over the Blue Jays. And then the Orioles find themselves 5.5 behind Toronto for that last wild card spot. So I'll just ask you, Astros, Yankees, Guardians, division winners, Rays, Mariners, Blue Jays are the wild cards. Do you disagree with any of those takes?
I don't think so. I think those are pretty well set with where they're at. I mean, the Astros are so far up. Yankees, I mean, as much as they keep changing there, it's interesting. I think I'm still shocked with what the White Sox are. We had picked them very early in the season that they were going to be the team there, and I think Cleveland is acting like there's something.
They're trying.
They're trying to do something. As far as the Rays, I'm still, I'm just not sold on how they played, but they're proving me wrong. So it's going to boil down. I think it's going to be an interesting wild card coming into that final week.
I don't know if it will be. That one might be just about done. I think the AL Central is kind of it as far as drama left in the American League and who gets the home field.
Right.
National League Series, Mets took 2 of 3 for the Marlins. Braves did lose 2 of 3 to the Mariners, so widened the gap just a little bit for the Mets.
Alverson didn't like that when I brought that
up. Phillies sweep the Nationals on a 3-game set. Cardinals took 2 of 3 from the Pirates. Brewers held serve, taking 2 of 3 from the Reds. And like it seems like every week, I have to say this, Dodgers take 2 of 3 from the Padres. They still somehow have another series against each other. Hunter Dozier walks in the top of the 9th. No-hitter still intact, but now 1 out, 1 on in the Kansas City, Minnesota game. Your standings right now, Dodgers basically have that wrapped up. They're up 20.5 games. That's
And we talked pre-show to that. How did we miss this one so much?
well, we just. I mean, I
we were
put it in
laughing
there
at
as a
10.
possibility, but it was like that's just too much. Like 10 is too much. And no, not even like 20 wasn't enough. Apparently, the good series though, Mets 1.5 games up over the Braves. I think that comes down to the last weekend. Cardinals starting to pull away. They're up 8 games on the Brewers, but the Brewers are playing them right now. See if they can get back into it. And then the Braves right now with a 10-game lead in the wild card. Phillies up 1.5 over the Padres. Padres have that last wild card spot. 2 games over the Brewers. So I ask you the same thing. Division winners, Dodgers, Mets, Cardinals. Wild cards, Braves, Phillies, Padres. Does any of that change by the end of the year?
The only one I think it might change, and I think it's going to rely on what happens with Max Scherzer. I think the Braves still have a chance to move up there.
Mhm.
And I think it all boils down to this series if he can get in and play this weekend. I think a lot depends on it and whether or not he's going to be ready to go. So that would be my only coin flip of
that one to me is very interesting. Is going to come down to the last weekend. Obviously, both are in the playoffs, but one's going to get a bye and one's going to have home field for that first week. I don't think the Padres are making the postseason.
I don't.
I think the Brewers are going to pass them. Yes, they are out of it as far as the Central goes, but they're only 2 games back from the Padres, who they don't play well in September. They've not the amount of talent they have on that team. They've never really lived up to it. So,
and I don't remember who do they get this week. They get this weekend. Brewers get, I think, St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken.
The Brewers have St. Louis right now.
So I'm trying to remember who they have this weekend.
Oh, while you look that up, I'm looking. It's 2-2 count right now to MJ Melendez. He's fouled off a pitch, so now the count is full after a ball as well. So we'll keep you updated. Full count. 1 out there, no hit opportunity. Continues to foul.
The Brewers have your Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
Milwaukee.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Milwaukee.
Yeah, so it might boil down to that.
All right, we still got a little bit after that. Where were you? 20 games left? 15 games
roughly.
left? Somewhere in there. It'll be fun. That's for sure. All right, power rankings. Not a ton of change, I think, by either of us, really.
I think I changed my bottom 3, and that was it.
Dodgers 1, Astros 2, and I think it's a coin flip. Mets, Yankees, Cardinals, Braves. I don't care what order you have them in as 4, 5, 6, and 7. I went Mets, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I went Mets, Yankees, Braves, and left the Cardinals out.
And I went Atlanta, the Braves, the Mets, the Cardinals.
You left the Yankees
and
out.
Then left the Yankees
you're a hater.
out, but I have Yankees Mariners, so that's probably
you put the Yankees back ahead of your Mariners.
I did.
Thank you. Melendez has walked, so now there's runners at first and second. Still no hits. Luckily, they have a 6-run lead, so they're not too worried about that. We'll see if Moran stays in the game or not.
Yeah, he's already
in that
pitched an inning and a third, 3 Ks already. So
at 28 pitches, so that might be it for him. Our bottom 3 are the same: Pirates, Athletics, and Nationals. Who's your player of the week?
For me, as much as
this chair is so squeaky.
I know.
Anybody listening, can you hear this chair squeak? It's driving me nuts. Go ahead.
For me, and I have picked him a couple times this year, it's got to be Freddie Freeman again. I mean, he had another huge weekend, batting over 500, 2 home runs, 5 runs, 6 RBIs. But I think the bigger numbers for me, slugging 1,000, his OPS 1.609. But shout out to Julio. I mean, Julio. I know. I put it in there just because I'm a homer.
You already talked about him.
He's a homer. I'm a homer.
You're very much a homer. All right. The real player of the week. The Toronto Blue Jays, Bo Bichette.
He had a great weekend, too.
16 of 32. 11 runs, 4 doubles, 1 triple, 5 home runs, 13 RBI for a Toronto Blue Jays team who is battling for something. Right. Freeman is sleepwalking his way to the top seed
Yeah.
in the National League. Blue Jays definitely playing for something. Series to watch this week. Brewers Yankees is an interesting one, but I'm going to go Philadelphia at Atlanta. Philadelphia very much in the wild card race. Atlanta very much in the division race.
For me, I'm going to go the other direction, and I'm taking Denny's team. Give me the Orioles and the Blue Jays. I mean, there's still a lot to play for. Baltimore's got to make a move to get back the chance of the, what we say, 5.5 games back right now in the wild card. So it's still a possibility with 20 games, but
that's a team you have to beat.
Yep.
They weren't able to do it last time. You have to take at least 2 or 3, possibly sweep. I think this might be almost must sweep territory as late as we are in the season. Denny has a smile on his face, so the Orioles must have won. Now they're in the bottom of the 9th. Or maybe we're just talking Baltimore.
Because I talked Baltimore and I talked up his team. I think it is the game. You kind of said it's kind of put up or shut up kind of.
Looks like Bobby Wood's going to get a hit. Denny Grubbs are always ahead of me on the chat, but I'm waiting for my game changer to hit. Yep, Bobby Witt Jr. doubles. 1 scores in there, so 2 outs away.
8 1/3 and 8 2/3
is what we've had
That's
lately.
Crazy.
But good run for Minnesota. See if they can hold on and get the win. It's a very critical win.
Yeah, it is.
For them right now. Let's get into some LCSC sports. We'll start with the volleyball as they had their first home weekend this past weekend. And it wasn't easy for them as they had to play one of the best teams in the country in Eastern Oregon. Eastern Oregon's ranked 7th, and I think they're underrated. Going into that match, Eastern Oregon had played 10 matches. 6 of them were against ranked opponents. 3 of them were against teams that also received votes. So 9 of their 10 opponents were basically in the top 30 or 35.
Right.
And Eastern Oregon lost their opening match of the year. It's dominated since. Give credit to LC. They battled through it. Forced a 4 set. We're unable to get it done. Eastern Oregon does win that one in 4 sets, but that to go against College of Idaho, slightly weaker opponent. These sets were fantastic. This was a really good match. Tied at 1, and I believe LC was down 16-21 in the 3rd set, and it was not looking good. Coach Pullman calls a timeout. Cassidy Nelson came out as a different human being. Like, I want to say she was like 8 or 9 kills at that point in the match. She finished with 20 between those last 15-ish points in that 3rd set and all of the 4th set. She just straight took over that match. Esther Kaili Pony is how you say that name. It's a name I'm still working on. I have already apologized to her because they had the signing thing on that first day. I apologized to her for butchering her name. But she had 30 assists. Kenzie Dean, who was banged up there for a little bit. She's always a gamer out there. She goes down with what looks like an injury. Sean goes out there to check on her, and all she says, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And then I think she threw some other 4-letter words in that we can't say, but I'm fine was kind of the main thing. She had 21 digs. Gracia Enriquez had 3 straight aces at one point in that match. Just watching her serve. And, we talked to Cassidy last week, and her beach volleyball background just absolutely shows when she plays. It's so much fun. But I do want to give real quick a shout out to Channa Hart. Hopefully she's doing okay. I've not heard a report or anything, but she left with an apparent leg injury. And when they went and did the high fives at the end, she did need a lot of assistance to go through that. So hopefully she's doing okay. I haven't heard any word, but we've worked with Channa during some of the baseball stuff, and she's an awesome human being, and hopefully she is healthy enough and doing okay.
Yeah, and the big thing for me, just listening to you talk about it, and I'm excited to see, is something that Cassidy and we brought up last week is I'm so impressed with the mentality and how quick these girls think on their feet offensively. Yeah, we know that they have kind of a play drawn up every time going into where they're going to serve the ball, what's going to happen. But for reaction time, and people talk about reaction time for like drag racers and those folks of getting into the throttle. I think you almost have to be more reaction time just listening to what Cassidy was saying, watching where you're supposed to be doing, making a call, and then making the adjustment all within a split second.
It's not just a split second, but a lot showing in that College of Idaho game was their ability to bounce back.
Right.
It looked like they were down. Like, first off, shout out to the student section for showing up on Friday.
What did you say? 107, close to 170?
I don't know what the attendance was, but the official attendance was. But the student section especially showed out on Friday. Saturday, not so much. But I mean, Friday you had the rodeo. You still had it on Saturday. But you had the Lewiston Clarkston game going on, and they showed up in good force. There was a lot of energy in that match. There's still decent energy on Saturday, but continue to show up for the ladies as they again are at home. They finish off their 4-game homestand. They get Evergreen State on Friday.
The Gooey Ducks.
The old Gooey Ducks are coming to town. That'll be at 7 p.m. at Friday at the LCSC Activity Center, P1 FCU Activity Center, excuse me.
Yep.
And Saturday at 5 p.m. against Northwest. Both of those games, fingers crossed, will be right here on klcz.com. Saturday, I think they turned the phone lines off on me over there. I could not get a connection to save my life. I tried every connection I could find in that gym. I tried 3 different cords. I just could not get a dial tone to call into the station. Just nothing worked. So trying to work through that for next week. Friday worked just fine. Either way, they're also on lcwarriors.com. You can pay for the Warrior Web subscription service or whatever and watch the clips as well. And or just come on down. Again, Robert Hagan will be your PA on Saturday.
Yep.
So the music will be terrible on Saturday.
No, I don't play it. Like we talked, it's all about Kinsey Cloward. She's the one. No, Kinsey Cloward. She's the one that sets all the music.
That was Dean that did all that.
No, it's Miss.
No,
Cloward.
Dean was the DJ and Cloward was the
Miss Cloward. It's Miss
sure?
Cloward. Oh yeah.
All right, we'll go back and listen to the interview. I'm pretty sure Cassidy said it was.
No, it's Miss Cloward.
All right, cross country. They will be back in action on Friday at the Taylor Invitational. They're going to be in Indiana this week. We'll see how things go there. And golf just completed, I believe, their second tournament of the year, the College of Idaho Invitational. The women come back to finish second in that event, just behind British of Columbia. They were behind Northwest Nazarene before a fantastic comeback. They finished plus 12 in that final round as a team, second best score behind British Columbia. But that team, the British Columbia team, LC finished in second place at plus 49 as a team.
Right.
British Columbia was minus 2. British Columbia had 5 of the top 6 finishers in that tournament. Kylie Hughes led the Warriors at plus 9. She finished in 9th place. For the men, they finished in 3rd behind British Columbia and Northwest Nazarene. Had a bit of a struggle in that final round, going plus 11 and finished 1 shot behind Northwest Nazarene for 2nd. And Jorgen Viken finishes plus 6 and tied for 12th.
It's crazy that they're playing golf and we got one more week until we get to the President's Cup. We'll get to that. And
then they'll have that
anymore.
Oh, they intentionally walked Aaron Judge. Shocking. I just noticed that. Right now, so top of the 10th, Yankees and Red Sox, 2 outs. And they, for whatever reason, decided to walk Aaron Judge with a runner at 3rd. I don't. Why would you do that? Also, why would you ever follow Robert Hagan in picks?
I struggle. Normally you did. I had a bad week. Listen, I took Eastern Washington football. You knew I wasn't gonna go different for Clarkston.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. As far as the others, I don't know.
You went 3-7 in high school last week. But the bigger one is you went 0-6 in your college picks. Now, you were over 500 in the NFL picks that we do on a different segment.
You and I were both 9-6-1 last week.
Yep.
So,
but yeah, you are now 18-19 on the year in our high school / college picks. I went 10-6 overall, 7-3 in high school, 3-3 in college. So I'm now 23-14. So I got a nice little 5-game lead that I've worked up. We've got 16 more games to give you, 10 more high school, 6 more college. Let's get right to it. And we start I'm sad that we have referee shortages because I feel bad for the kids and them having the uncertainty of whether they're going to play or not. But moving these games around, so we got high school almost every day, high school football every day, volleyball's all spread out. Not only does it make my job a bit easier at the Tribune that we don't have 50 games going on in one day, they've spread it out a little bit, but we can go right to it. Wednesday night high school football. Wednesday night, Prairie at Timberline. Who you got?
I got to take Prairie. I got to take the no-brainer in this one. I mean, Timberline, haven't heard a lot about it, but I think Prairie's just the more dominant team in that division. So,
sorry, you got an email from work and I was double checking. I'm with you. I'm with Prairie as well. Kendrick at Genesee. This is a Thursday night game. Kendrick has just been too dominant. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, 100%. Genesee is not playing up to where they have been in the past. I think Kendrick's going to win.
Now we get to the Friday night games. Lewiston's in Oregon.
Going to play the Buckaroos.
So now they'll have played a team from Utah, a team from Washington, a team from Idaho, and now a team from Oregon in their first 4 games. So cool for them to do that. I'm taking Lewiston. Yeah. I know Pendleton's 1-0 in their year, but I have no clue with them, but it's a tough running team with the Bengals.
Yeah, and they have to be shut down one of these times, but I don't think it's against the Bucks. So give me Lewiston.
You travel with the Bantams on Friday night. They take on East Valley.
Yeah, I'm taking the away team, taking Clarkston. In East Valley, their numbers are really low, so it should be pretty much an easy walk in the park for Steinwan and Milan.
Mm-hmm. Moscow is headed to Timberlake. Should be a match that I think Moscow has a chance in. They showed some signs against Pullman, but until they're able to do it, I'm going to continue to pick against them. Sorry, Bears fans, but I'm taking Timberlake.
Yeah, I think that you've hit it exactly right. They've got to prove something first before we can finally put some to weight on them. So give me Timberlake also.
I'm really jealous of Trevin as he gets to make the trip out to the Lapway at Clearwater Valley game. It's an interesting place to watch a football game. I was there for the Jamboree, but I'm jealous because there is some drama.
Isn't it at Clearwater Valley, though?
That's what I said. What did I say?
I thought you said Lapway.
Lapway at Clearwater Valley, I think is what I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's at Clearwater Valley. But there's some drama between these two with the Jamboree and the blindside block that happened during that event. Lapway was able to beat Clearwater Valley both times they met last year. Clearwater Valley has a bullseye straight pointed towards Lapway. This is the game they've circled on their calendars from the get-go. It's going to be a really fun 8-man football team game. I'm going to take the Lapway Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the road team. I think they just are going to keep going and run with that one. If I wasn't going to Spokane, this would be I'm driving to go see them.
I will be doing the volleyball game, and that's why I won't be traveling out there. So I'm a little jealous, but volleyball should be good as well. Don't walk Aaron Judge.
No.
Gleyber Torres, 3-run double. Yankees lead 7-4. I know all of you out there are just dying to get that update. Davenport at Soton. Soton had a good win last week. Davenport's really good in that conference. Give me Davenport.
I traveled on the road last year. Remember, I was in Davenport with Pete Williams. That was a Thursday night game, and it was in the downpour. The almost wishbone style offense that Davenport runs, hiding the ball quite well. Mm-hmm. They're very deceptive. Nothing against Coach Holman and his team, what he's done. I think Davenport is just way too much for him.
Another really fun game, Deary at Potlatch.
First one that you and I are going to go a little different. I think the Mustangs pop up and get a win here, so it'll be interesting. This is one of 4 that you and I have different.
Potlatch offense is ridiculous. They scored 90 points in their first game. They were part of that ridiculous game against Prairie last week with the 1,100 combined total yards. Deary, they got beat by Mullen last week, but that was a weird situation where Mullen's opponent had to cancel on them. They basically had 24 hours or 48 hours notice to get up there, play a football game. So, yes, they lose that one 48-14, but you can't really put that on Deary. It was just cool enough for him to get more experience. But Potlatch's offense is really, really good, and it's at home. So I'm going to take Potlatch.
I'm just taking a chance.
Lewis County against Meadows Valley again. Lewis County was really close to winning their game last week. I think they bounced back, get the win this week.
100%. That's exactly why I picked them then. So I'm going to take Lewis County too.
And the last high school game, it's a Saturday night affair. Pullman at North Central. I'm going to believe that the fourth quarter spurt that the Greyhounds had is enough to get things going. They did beat North Central last year, but that was at home. But I'm going to say it's going to be a close one, but I'll take Pullman.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other direction. I think North Central is just too big in their division. So I think they're going to be one of those teams this year to watch out for. So give me North Central.
All right, go to the college football area. Colorado State at Washington State taking the Cougars.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Colorado State doesn't have. I think Cougars run all over them, especially with what did we say, 16 and a half.
I think it's 16 and a half. Idaho is not taking on an FBS school. They're also getting their first home game. They take on Drake. Give me the Vandals.
Yeah, I think I didn't realize Drake had a football team, so I thought they only had basketball. So I think the Vandals and
well, if you go look at their results, do they really have a football team?
Probably not.
Number 12 BYU, after getting the big win against Baylor, travels to number 25 Oregon. Oregon bounced things back after that horrendous first week performance against Georgia. I think they defend home field. Give me the Ducks.
Yeah, as much as I want to believe in the Ducks, I think we kind of scared them a little bit. Yes, they come back and crush everybody this last week. Again, taking on Eastern Washington. But I think BYU might just pull the upset in Eugene.
Be a fun game. It's going to be a good game. Another really interesting one. Number 11 Michigan State traveling to Seattle to take on the Huskies of Washington. Who do you got?
I think the Spartans are just way too much over the Huskies, even though it is a home game for the Huskies. I think Michigan State has something to prove by traveling out here.
I'm going to go with Washington just for the fact that Vegas has given them an extra half a point. Like, usually, I mean, obviously, home teams get 3 points. Michigan State is a ranked team, but what rankings can you really trust at this moment? So Vegas giving that extra half a point to Washington, I think, speaks volumes. Neither team has really played anybody yet, so it's really difficult to figure out who really is real and not. But I'll take Washington at home. I think it'll be a really interesting game. I don't know if Eric is watching. I don't think I've seen him at all tonight. But number 13, Miami, those old Hurricanes that Watkins follows against Haley's number 24, Texas A&M. And I'm sorry, Eric. Texas A&M just got embarrassed by Appalachian State. Now they're coming back home, and you have to play them.
Yep.
Taking Texas A&M.
Yeah, they've got a vengeance. They're going to come out just from getting beat as bad as they did. I think,
well, I mean, they only lost by 3, but losing to a team that they should
not have. Yeah, so I'm going to take Texas A&M also.
And then on Fridays, the only reason I put it on here is because it's basically the first game we have this week. Florida State at Louisville. I know nothing about either of these two teams, so I'll take the team that was favored. I'll take Florida State.
I think the Seminoles will run all over the Cardinals.
All right, real quick, we'll go back to the baseball scoreboard again. The Pirates took 2 in a doubleheader against the Reds, 6-1 and 1-0. Rays and Blue Jays split their doubleheader today. Guardians beat the Angels 3-1. Astros beat the Tigers 6-3. Phillies beat the Marlins 2-1, and Denny Grubb's Orioles did defeat the Nationals 4-3. Cubs over the Mets 4-1. That's a big result. Well, we talked about that earlier. Twins over the Royals 6-3. Bottom of the 10th inning, Yankees up 7-4, but the Red Sox have 2 on with nobody out. Brewers over the Cardinals 8-4 in the 8th inning. Athletics and Rangers are tied at 7 in the 8th. White Sox over the Rockies 4-2 in the 8th inning. Dodgers have put up 3. They're up 3-0 over the Diamondbacks in the 3rd. Scoreless between the Padres and the Mariners in the bottom of the 3rd. Going up against you, Darvish there. That's a good one. And Braves up 3-1 over the Giants in the top of the 3rd inning. And I just wanted to find this score real quick. It is the WNBA Finals. We don't really talk basketball on this, whether it's NBA or WNBA. But WABA Finals Game 2. And the Aces, who are leading 1-0 in the series, best of 5, are up 70 to 54. That one early on in the fourth quarter. So they're trying to take a demanding 2-0 lead.
I don't know. It's interesting to see what the Aces have up their sleeve to play. I was shocked when I was in Vegas, and I don't know if you had the chance to walk around and see anything, is how much that city has, welcomed in a WNBA team like the Aces and what they're capable. It didn't matter where you turned around in different spots. There was so many people with like an Aces shirt on or out.
Hey, Vegas will follow their sports. That's for sure.
That's a huge
Give them
thing.
more teams. I'm totally fine with that. All right, Aussie rules. AFL, we're down to the final 4.
I know. I typed these in last night, and I still have not watched them yet. So,
well, spoilers.
When I typed them in, I was like, okay, I knew I hit both of mine because that's exactly who I took.
I forget who I took, to be honest.
But
Brisbane did defeat Melbourne 92-79. Collingwood took out Fremantle 79-59. So our preliminary finals: Geelong versus Brisbane. That'll take place Friday at 2:50 a.m. local time on FS2. That's what we figured out.
I think that's what we figured out.
It might be flipped. Geelong did defeat Brisbane 80-70 all the way back in April. So take that for what it's worth. And Sydney versus Collingwood, that'll be Friday night at 11:45 p.m. Sydney defeated Collingwood 77-50 just a couple months ago, 1 month ago, August 13th. Who will be playing in the grand final next week, sir?
I have to kind of agree with what Eric said last week, and it's going to all boil down to that. And it has been the Geelong team. Where are we now? 16 straight wins, I think it is now. 16 straight. And then you've got Sydney, who came on a lot in the second half, and they ended up with 6 losses on the season. They played quite well with the few games that I watched them. I think it boils down to Geelong against Sydney in the final. So I think Sydney knocks off Collingwood, even though Collingwood has played really, really well over the last couple of weeks prior to playoffs, and week 22 especially. So give me Geelong, give me Sydney, and hopefully the Cats will pull it off. We'll see.
I'm going to agree with you that it will be the Cats and the Swans in the grand final. I kind of want it. I mean, I'm still sad that Buddy left the Hawks so many years ago, but he's getting up there in age. Has all these milestones that he's already hit, all the crazy moments we've talked about. I'd like to see him go out on top, so I'll take the Swans. And I'll probably, if that's the matchup, we'll take the Swans in the grand final. So congratulations to Brisbane and Collingwood for winning these 2 games, because you and I agree. And that's it's never a good sign.
Don't do that.
It's never a good thing.
Well, see, and even Eric said that last week, because if you look back in the post in the comments, he had made the comment that it was going to be Geelong and Sydney before we got to this point. So,
all right, let's end this show on some NASCAR. Then we'll talk about your little WWE house show, because it looks like we got a little bit extra time. Oh no, what is Boone doing? Apparently he's over managing. Oh, they brought in Wandy Peralta. I quit. I can't do the show anymore.
Well, you got Verdugo, who's over 4
Yeah, but it's
today.
Wandy.
Yeah, but what you got?
Guaranteed 3-run home run coming up right now.
2 on right now. What,
yeah,
2 on, 2 out.
3-run home runs coming up right now. I'm just telling you. Boone doing Boone things. All right, NASCAR was fun. Race was okay, but the result was awesome. Bubba Wallace, who does have the 1 win, but it was at a restrictor plate that stopped under the rain like a year or 2 ago. Kind of dominated the end of this race. Denny Hamlin was coming on strong, but ran out of laps. And honestly, I think Bubba was just cruising at that point, making sure he didn't make any mistakes. So Bubba Wallace, I believe, is the 17th different winner.
17th different winner in that one. They brought that up, and finally,
it's insane. 17 different winners. We've had 2 playoff races. A playoff driver has not won either of those 2 races. It's been Eric Jones and Bubba Wallace.
Right.
Denny Hamlin finishes second. Christopher Bell finishes third. Alex Bowman fourth. Martin Truex Jr. in fifth. But very, very cool for Bubba.
Right. Just watching him you messaged me and
There's a single.
Watching the last about 15 laps, and you could just watch like you were saying, he seemed to just want to keep him at 1.5 second and split. I think the closest I ever saw Hamlin get to him was like 1.1 seconds behind, but Hamlin started playing a little bit different line there towards the end, trying to make game back. But
Right.
I think Wallace was just too tough, and what they had for that route car, what they had done, and seeing a Toyota take a win and Bubba getting that win there was great. But you feel bad for a couple of those guys that you
I don't feel bad for any of them.
You get to the playoffs, and none of the guys that are in the top side have even got there.
The one good thing with this new car is there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of things bad with this new car. The tires are a joke.
Right.
The safety issues are concerning. But it's created a lot of parity in the sport, and that always brings in a lot of entertainment. The one thing that I really liked about Bubba Wallace in this race was just, he's somebody that kind of gets in his own head. We've seen that several times where he had Michigan won and messed it up on the restart and really beat himself up for that. His spotter started telling him where Denny was, and he went, just let me ride. If he gets super close, then let me know. But I can see him just like, I got this.
Yeah, it was like
getting a little bit of confidence built up was really, really cool to see. But right now, we have one more race in this opening round of the playoffs. 16 gets turned down to 12. It's at Bristol. So damage is coming for these people.
These guys are going to get.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a Saturday night race. It'll be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Right now, your bottom tier that are in, Daniel Suarez has a 6-point advantage, and Tyler Reddick and Austin Cindric have a 2-point advantage. Your 4 drivers that are in trouble at the moment, other drivers could be that I didn't put on here. Just if you wreck, you're in big trouble. Yeah. But Kyle Busch is 2 points out. Austin Dillon is 3 points out. Chase Briscoe 9 points out. And Kevin Harvick's having a tough time. He's 35 points out. With the stage racing, you can catch a lot of that up, but Kevin Harvick is almost at a must-win situation.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think what it's going to boil down to is who can race smart and not get into too much damage or get too wrapped up in the moment, almost point, because we know what's going to happen there. It's going to be who's hitting who and knocking them out.
Right. You're going to have a couple of these playoff drivers go out and be in big trouble at that point. You're going to see some drivers that absolutely need to get those extra playoff or the stage points to give them a better chance. It's going to be a really, really fun race on Saturday.
And unfortunately, both of us will be working at 5 o'clock.
That's okay.
So it'll be hurry up after we're done with volleyball, get home, catch the last.
Yeah,
probably.
I got to go to work.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so I'll be watching it at work, but it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited to see where that goes. I know a lot of people hate the playoffs because it's not the most fair system, and it's really not. It's like any playoff system. It's not going to always give you the true champion of that year, but it creates drama, and there's a lot of drama in it. And like we were saying earlier, it's all about entertainment. Yes, you're trying to win, but if you're not an entertaining sport, you're not going to make the big bucks.
Exactly. I would agree with that, Stephen.
All right, so tell me a little bit. It's so funny. Doof and I were talking about this. My buddy Doofenberg. No, actually, it was not about you, but he and I, wrestling fans all our lives, watch it all the time. We've both kind of fallen back into more YouTube clips and keeping track of stuff. And we'll watch all the pay-per-views and stuff, but there's just so much wrestling going on weekly that it's too much for us. Neither of us are up there. You're a casual fan. You like watching it from time to time. You watch some of the pay-per-views now. You're there. And our buddy Heather Kernan, who I don't know if has ever watched a wrestling match in her life, ever, was supposed to go to a comedy show. That got canceled, so she ended up just going, hey, let's go to this wrestling event. She went to the wrestling event, and Doof and I were not there.
She was down on the floor, too.
Yeah, she had floor seats.
Yeah.
So what'd you think? What house show environment? A little bit more relaxed, a little bit more goofy.
It was crazy to finally have my first live experience with it. And is Denise and I were standing, and listen, I want to preface this by saying I'm not a judgmental person
No, yes, you are.
whatsoever. But it was kind of crazy to see the diversity of fans that were in the line getting in, from people that were nice and dressed up, and I saw a guy in a suit and a tie and all that, to what a couple of kids that were ripped pants and tore up and old school wrestling. So it was crazy to see the environment and how many people got wound up. I think the big thing, I was bummed they only had one place to go and get your merchandise, and it was a zoo.
It's always a zoo there. Did they? So the last time I've been to an event in Spokane, they had the deal where you could use a QR code.
Yep, they had that.
And get it with your phone and then go pick it up later.
But it was only certain items. It was only
that was
like 5 items.
And such a lifesaver when we went. That's where I got this shirt. The Dude Perfect shirt was with that setup. But
that's the only thing that happened there. So, but I think so. Getting into the show, I'm not, me. I'm not a big tweet. I don't tweet a lot. I try to stay off as much as possible as I can, but I made a couple of comments. One, it was like, okay, bring on Drew McIntyre. I was excited from day one when I saw it. I was hoping to see Drew McIntyre. Yes, we got to see the SmackDown show primarily. But how much my Twitter account blew up after I had posted two posts, and then all these likes and follows, and just hit all the way around. But I think the best one was the lead off, they kind of set the tone. And then I told you as we were bowling, it's just kind of weird to watch the Usos come out there with the New Day, and they started dancing, all 4 of them together, before the match really happened. I mean, they were having a good time and hooping it up. It's totally different.
Those 4 have wrestled like 30,000 matches together in their careers, so they could do matches in their sleep. Yeah. So they just go out there and have a good time for sure.
Yeah, that match was probably one of my favorites, and and they went almost 20-25 minutes to start things off. Felt bad because it was the audience barrier was the old school style. It wasn't like what you see on Raw or anything like that. But that was a good one. Got to see Natalia. Natalia called against Liv Morgan, called Spokane a H-hole, basically spot, of the Northwest, and so kind of fired that up. Imperium, I got to watch Gunther and Imperium take on the Brawling Brutes, and everybody. And I think that's what's changed for me for that ball club or that group is Brawling Brutes have kind of switched and not turning good guy, bad guy from the heel, because they still get some boos, but to hear them after each other, that was a great match. And then again, I sent the video to you and one to Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, they pulled out tables. So yeah, the Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn matchup ended up turning into what they were calling a Spokane Fight Night, Falls Anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So they ended up busting a couple of tables out. But I think the biggest thing, like I told you, was it was so awesome to see how these guys as athletes were interacting with the group in not a stressful environment. Like you and I were talking, it's where they practice their moves. They're getting ready to go for the main show. Like yesterday was in Portland for Raw, and it was just their practice time, and it was really cool. And again, to see how much they loved the environment. I'm bummed, there wasn't near as many people there as I thought there would be. I figured
house shows don't bring in a ton of people, especially right now. Wrestling is not as popular as it was in the 90s,
right?
By any means, or the 80s,
right?
When they had their booms. But usually house shows are decent sized, and They're just kind of thrown in there, especially Spokane.
Yeah, they had none of the upper level open, none of the 200 level was open. And
when they had SmackDown there, I don't think they had any of those open.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. You know, they did talk about at the very beginning that they were talking about making it another stop again next year.
They're going to say that to everybody.
Yeah, and so how much?
Oh, you guys are so great. We can't wait to come back in 17 years.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting.
Honestly, the thing I was most shocked by was Ronda Rousey actually did house shows.
Yeah.
So,
and Denise,
especially after having a kid.
Yeah, Denise was like, that was her main person that she was excited to see, was to see Ronda Rousey, and for them to chant they wanted her in the ring during that fight. It was great. So, you know, I was highly impressed with my first house show. I'm looking forward to doing it again, or hoping to see a SmackDown, because you and I had talked about it. I was like, oh, before we saw Spokane was coming, that SmackDown was going to be in Seattle, and we knew Portland was going to have it, but we didn't want to. This is our opening weekend of our NFL league. So,
all right, that's going to do it. 99 of these things in the book. Are you ready for episode 100?
It's going to be crazy. I think, you know, I've been throwing this out there. I hope we get a lot of fans on the show, bring them on, and you know, let them chat and have a good time. We'll get Denny on maybe, and Eric. You know, it's hard to get.
It's tough to get them on now that we're back in the studio.
Yeah.
But get Denny down here.
Yeah.
I know Alicia's already said she's in. We'll start reaching out for other people. I'm not sure exactly what the format will be, but
let's just fill the studio. Let's just light them all up.
Yeah, we don't have restrictions or anymore.
No,
so
not
let's
anymore.
Just go nuts.
Get Cassidy, get Cassidy, and get Sean Pullman.
He can take up the whole show.
Oh yeah, let's get them in here.
We'll have some fun. We'll definitely have some fun, and I want to thank all of you guys for allowing us to reach 100 episodes. We're in our third year of doing this show. 600 followers on Facebook is absolutely fantastic. Just the different opportunities we've been able to do, and the people we've been able to meet, just having them come in and chat has been fantastic as well. And hey, it's just two idiots talking sports for 2 hours, and for some reason people enjoy it, so we appreciate all of you. But I gotta get myself to work, so we're gonna cut it a couple minutes short because we pushed through some stuff. We didn't go long-winded as much as normal, and that's okay with me. I think Don will appreciate it as well. But that'll do it for episode 99. We will be back for episode 100 next week, but until then, that's Robert, I'm Randy, and we are out.